Welcome to the Wise Women Podcast and our debut season, Wisdom's Discovery, Finding Your Center at the Edge. Because some moments in life call us to our edge and then beckon us to expand beyond it. In this season, we dive into the shared experiences of 20 remarkable women. And through honest conversation, we explore together the moments that shape us, stretch us, undo us, and ultimately return us to ourselves. I'm Katherine Jelinek, and this is the Wise Women Podcast. Hello, it is my sincere pleasure to welcome you, Sue Frech. Sue is the founder of Summit Shore. She's also an EOS implementer and certified Colby consultant. Thank you for being here to share your story, Sue. Welcome.
Thank you, Katherine. Appreciate you having me.
Yes. Okay, so start us off. Where does your story begin?
So my story begins in a time period when I launched my own business, but I'll just back up for a couple of minutes and say that I was a serial entrepreneur in the fact that I helped 5 founders grow and scale their businesses. I learned a ton during that time period. We exited 2 of the companies. One of the companies completely imploded. The other did some acquisitions. And so I really felt like I was ready to go out and start my own company. And I felt overly confident. I'd say even had quite a big ego that I could do this because I had done this with 5 other startups and worked directly for the founder CEO. What I didn't realize, one of the biggest challenges was that going from $0 to $1 was so much harder than going from 1 million to 4 or 4 to 25 or 25 to 50, which were some of the examples of the businesses I had been at, because product market fit, having a product, having a team in place already, making all those mistakes, all the things that I didn't really step back to think about. I think sometimes I say when you step back to think about it, it's probably good because maybe that would hold me back and I wouldn't have done it. But on the other hand, I think I could have been a little bit more aware about all of the challenges that can happen when you're launching your own business. So I was launching a marketing technology company, and that meant I had to build technology. And everything I knew about tech was that I had to build the best technology in order for this company to scale, grow, and exit. And I didn't have the funds when I went out and scoped exactly what I wanted to build. I didn't have the funds to build it. So I actually had to go out and sell it before it was built. And that came as part of also my confidence in saying, I can do this, I can sell this. You know, I slapped up a page that said under construction, put the company name up, had the URL, hadn't trademarked it yet. We were still working it, flying the plane while I'm building it. And I went out to about a dozen different contacts, people I knew, and I was actually able to sell and close a $100,000 deal, which at the time covered the MVP for the software.
Bravo.
And so it was scary, that wasn't overnight, right? It took time. Like we had to scope it and really work through lots of no's before yes. But I felt like, wow, this is easier than I thought. So originally went in, I could run this, build this, scale it to, 10 million overnight. No, obviously can't. Then I was like, oh my gosh, I can't afford to build what I need. Now let me go out and sell it. So I sold some clients in and built it as we were going. I was the only employee in the business. So I had to do everything, customer service. I had to launch it. We were doing social media monitoring at the time, all of it. And I launched on Christmas Eve. My idea, which is crazy, is that there'd be less people online. Well, that wasn't really the case.
Right? It wasn't.
It wasn't the case. I guess people like to be online, all times. I mean, now, right? Of course, we know that now. This is going back to 2009. But so I was there monitoring. It went phenomenal. I mean, I did not know if it would work, and it worked. We launched. The goal for the client was to get ratings and reviews and advocacy for their new product launch, and it exploded. We had thousands of positive comments, one negative comment, but it was just unbelievable how well it did for, literally launching it in not knowing, there was no pilot. This was actually going live and live for a very large, billion dollar company. So it was really
Oh,
exciting that I was able to deliver that for them, and they became a loyal customer. And those folks there are still loyal customers at other businesses now, but it was great. And so then it was the moment of, okay, now we need to scale this business. We've got the product market fit. We need to scale it. And I kept thinking, like, I'm the leader. I'm the number one seller. This is my company. I need to have all the answers and I need to be in control. Of course, I never said any of those things, but that was how I felt. And that was definitely the bravado that I put out there, was like, I have to do it all. And so when things got tough, because they always do in startups, I couldn't make payroll, when I couldn't pay some of my vendors, when I had such big problem issues, sometimes legal issues, like, it was so challenging because I had no one to go to. It felt really, really lonely. And I've heard that before. It's lonely at the top. And it was me. I just didn't want anyone to think I didn't know what I was doing. And so when I had a team, there were about 6 of us at the time, I never let them in on any of the really big issues. I wasn't transparent. I certainly wasn't vulnerable with them. And so I ended up joining a peer group, Women Presidents Organization, and I
awesome.
watched these incredibly successful women around me share and be so vulnerable about some things that are shocking. Like, it sounded like they were failures in some places. And I just couldn't believe how people could open up. And what it made me realize is that once they opened up, they got the best advice ever. And they made changes quickly because they had a sounding board. And so it changed it for me that I created my leadership team and I started using them as a sounding board. So when I first thought, oh, I'm going to scale this and do this alone, what I realized is I actually can't scale this and do this alone. And that it was really important for me. I was on that edge. I was crying. I was in tears. I was on the edge. And I realized for me how important it was to actually lean on other people and to get help. And I summarize that with, I thought I was building a tech company, but I realized I was actually building a people company, because it didn't matter as much about the technology. We had great technology. It didn't matter. It mattered more that I had the best people. I hired someone better than me in tech, someone better than me in sales, better than me in marketing. God, did I learn a lot. And then
Yeah.
just having that peer group at the same time was remarkable. And so I think it was really eye-opening to me over a time period. This was not overnight, that, you know, I couldn't scale alone. And I don't even know why I felt like I had to do it alone. I was everything. I was the head of sales, head of product, head of operations, my own therapist. And I
Yeah.
just don't know why I thought I could physically carry every single role myself. And I think that was really eye-opening for me.
To take the Atlas shrugged moment and to take that earth off your back. And so then what changed for you when you actually started sharing in the peer group or opening up to your team members? Like, what else began to happen?
Actually got time back in my day. What I thought was effort equals scale. Work more hours, scale faster, do more, achieve more. And that really wasn't the case. The true delegate and elevate is actually something that I learned the hard way. And so once I was able to trust my team, open up, and start to delegate, I actually prevented myself from completely burning out. I mean, the tears were real. And, I had three, well, at the time, I'd say two young children at home. And, everything was at risk, because I was risking never seeing my family. I was risking being cranky for my husband, and I was risking certainly making my employees and my team feel like they were just employees. So once I opened up to them, I actually gave some of those early employees equity. And one of those employees stayed with me for 15 years and the other for about 10 years. And so what I realized was that they were willing to treat it like it was their own once I treated them as part of the team and not an employee.
And then what started happening for the company? How did things change?
Yeah. So, I mean, we started to scale and grow. We were on the Inc. 500 3 years in a row. We went out to go raise money. I ended up taking some investments, and it just really changed everything. I think the biggest thing was the ability to hire more people, knowing that if I could hire the best people versus more people, I should say, was really critical. The other thing that I realized was that when I took an investment and I had a board, I hit another challenge. And I think one of the things that I love about hitting a challenge, hitting a ceiling, hitting a wall is that the breakthrough is so much bigger. It's so great. And so for every ceiling I hit or every wall that I bumped into, when I was able to truly break through it, I got so much clarity and so many learnings. And I think the second learning for me was really in standing up for myself and believing in myself. And so, now I've got this scaling company. We're positioning it and getting it ready to sell. And I needed to ask the board for some really big changes to be made. And I was scared. I felt like I owed them something. They had put money into the business. And in all the board meetings, I was taking advice from them. Now I opened up so much. I was taking a lot of advice from them, but I was really afraid to stand up to them in a way that would really challenge them. And when I was able to do that, I was actually working with an EOS implementer at the time. When I was able to do that and just got rid of like my limiting beliefs, that was the second big breakthrough that I had. I had somebody on my team as we were growing and scaling. And I had someone on my team that was actually really toxic, wrong person, right seat. And I was scared to tell the board because they had placed her there and this was their person and they had actually worked with her for like 9 years. And I was like, wow, I cannot believe this. How am I going to tell them that I need to fire this person? This isn't working. And it wasn't a personality thing for me. Her and I got along great and she did great work for me. I came to realize it was my vendors, my partners, my team that she had a lot of issues with and didn't respect and treated them like that she didn't respect them. And so I had to stand up to my board in that situation. And when I did, and I made the case and I held my ground, they respected me more. It actually opened up my ability to go and ask for more equity, to go and ask for, a greater salary and some other things that would really benefit the business overall that I knew initially they were widely against. And so it was amazing to me that I could, get the business to a point with so much bravado and so much ego and so much confidence, but yet there was still this massive cloud hanging over my head that I owed them something. I just owed them. So I wasn't going to stand up to them. And it wasn't a respect. I always had respected them. It was that I really felt like I wasn't good enough or I had those, that imposter syndrome. So that was the biggest challenge. But that was my second breakthrough, just being able to believe in myself, get rid of all those limiting beliefs and stand up for myself. They respected me more and it really did change our relationship, which
To just track some of those changes from feeling like you had to show that you had everything, that you knew what you were doing and that you had everything going and it was perfect. But on the inside, there was a lot of imposter syndrome and, internal doubt and things like that. But then once you opened up, things weren't perfect. You leaned on other people, but then like the bigger inner wisdom showed up while you were leaning on others, like almost like their wisdom reflected back to you your own and
yes, for
how
sure.
right yours was, like how it was so essential to your business. Wasn't about knowing everything, but it was what you were offering and what your gifts and what you were able to do for that company was essential.
Yeah, and I always had this feeling and insecurity, that I didn't go to Harvard Business School or Stanford, and I didn't get my MBA from one of those programs. And so my board did. And so they had exited and sold their last company for 350 million. And just felt like if I just listen to what they say and do everything they say, then I'll be in this really strong position. But it wasn't just my board, it was my clients, in working with my implementer as well. We ended up firing our biggest client. That was so hard, but they thought we were a custom tech company and they were a third of our business. And it was again saying, you know what, this is bad for our business. This is bad for my tech team, our customer service, our other clients, and we can't scale being something we're not. And so it wasn't just my board that I had to stand up to. It was other really, really tough decisions that I had to make. And once I made them, and I really did believe, and I thought through them so much, and really again went to my peer groups and my team, it was transformative. Everything changed again. So again, it hit that wall. We're building and growing and scaling with this, one of the largest retailers in the world. And I have to tell them that I'm firing them. I mean, it's just, how does that work? Right. And it didn't happen just like that. Right. I'd say, oh, you're fired. But it was definitely a big decision that we ended up parting ways because they needed something different. And it was something that I was no longer willing to give because it was bad for business and I couldn't scale because of it. So again, another example of these like edge moments where everything kind of comes to a head and you're either going to explode or you're going to move forward. And we were like, we're going to move forward because I felt like if we didn't do something, it was going to be that explosion or it could have been that moment of failure for us as a business.
Okay, so then to ask a follow-up question, I'm like, your story is so rich and layered, and there's this element of leaning on the wisdom around you and the experience and expertise around you, but then also needing to balance on that knife's edge of business, like not leaning so hard that you're almost having too much looseness and giving all of that away and over delegating your leadership and needing to like pull back in. And there's parts where you knew what was right for the company. So how did you find that balance over time between where to absorb the wisdom of others and lean into them and where to assert and know it's coming from the right place in you?
I think it really goes more to the trust in me, like trusting when I need to lean on someone else, when I need to ask for help, and when I need to push back. And so I think really it was all like internal voices, head trash, doubt, all those things. And I think when in any situation, when I needed to give up control or when I needed to take back control, they're both the same for me. It was like I had to trust I was making the right decision. I knew what I wanted. And if it was the wrong decision, I owned it. I had no one to hide behind. And, fear of making mistakes. Like, again, that's that internal like, trust myself. So I think that was really it's a balance. I don't think there's ever like, okay, I'm going to give all my control today and then tomorrow I'll have to take it back. I think it's situational, but I do think it's that head trash and being able to get clarity on it. And the best way to do is either journal, talk to my business coach, talk to my mentor, talk to my peer group. I'm still in several peer groups, and then talk to my team, right? Like I still bounce ideas off of and my husband, my husband of 26 years. I
Awesome.
still bounce
Congratulations.
ideas. Thank you. Who I met when I was 7, which is a fun fact
That's
too.
awesome. Wow.
But and he stuck with me, this crazy entrepreneur
That's amazing.
all these years. But having people to bounce ideas, I'll even laugh becoming an implementer. He had told me for 10 years I should be an implementer.
Your husband
10
did?
years.
That's wild. Sometimes they know way more about us than, yeah, I know. Like they just
Yeah.
know too much sometimes.
They know too much about us. But that's the trust in trusting the people around you. So I think it's a lot of that head trash that happens, and self-doubt that happens. And so it's balance of giving control, taking back control when it makes sense. But I think early on, giving up the control and trusting others, that was the first breakthrough, right? And then the second big breakthrough, I think, is really trusting myself and seeing when I stood up for myself or when I was able to push back, or make tough decisions, not always just standing up for myself, but make those tough decisions. That's really when I saw the business scale and change transformationally.
Yeah. And I can just feel the difference in how you describe some of those situations. Like when you're talking about making those tough calls and trusting yourself, there's that sense of inner authority, like that really grounded self,
Yeah.
like with a capital S.
Yeah.
And then there's other moments where it's like the head trash, you can feel it. It's not a grounded place. There's that swirl. So that's a follow-up question is like, how actually would you share with others from your experience to be able to tell the difference between the trash and the truth when you're hearing all the voices on the inside?
I mean, I think it's for me, it's every time I have doubt, I'm feeling like maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe this isn't going to work, or maybe I'll fail. That's when I've got to lean on that group, that peer group, that mentor, that business coach, my husband, my inner circle. And letting those people in, and not everybody in at once, right? I know who to go to for different challenges that I have, but letting people in is one thing, but I think actually inviting them in. And it's amazing when I invited people in, I become closer with them and they open up. So it's so fun to see the growth together, that I don't have to say to somebody, oh, open up to me, be vulnerable. When I'm vulnerable, others are vulnerable too. And so it's really powerful that can be a gift, that me just sharing something that's happening in my head, can really be transformational for them as well. So that's really, important. But I don't think that there's like any one moment that I realized that, you know, this head trash isn't real. It still happens all the time,
Yeah.
all the time. And so it's just, self-checking yourself doesn't happen as often. It doesn't drag on. It doesn't prevent me from doing things or taking risks or standing up for myself, but it definitely still happens. And so I love that I still have people to go to. I still talk to my US implementer weekly as a mentor. And so I think it's just, again, just being able to have that inner circle is critical because you need it as an entrepreneur, as a business leader, you definitely need it. It's lonely otherwise. It's certainly
Yeah.
lonely.
It reminds me of, motherhood. I mean, like, takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to raise a company.
Yes.
We want
It's the same
creations of
thing.
different sorts, but look at that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know. Honestly, early on with my company, I had 2 young kids at the time. I was like,
It's wild.
I have to prove to other working moms and men that I can do everything. So I took 2 weeks maternity leave. I mean, that's insanity. But only for my first child. Learn the
Yeah.
lesson the hard way. But it's letting others in, being vulnerable really empowers other people as well. And I love that. It's like a gift you can give back and forth to each other.
Yes. Okay, so can we hear like the conclusion story to this business? Like, I know now today, you're doing several things, but like, so how did,
Yeah, so
you
I
mentioned it
fully
was like
exited. Yeah.
fully exited.
Yeah, fully
Congratulations.
exited, which is so fun, that I was able to do that. Couldn't have done that without EOS. The first time I sold the business, I was tied to it, and that was another lesson. But really being able to fully exit and become an EOS implementer, now I have this incredible gift of being able to work with other entrepreneurs and help them be vulnerable and open up, because I can't help them unless, their team can't help them unless they open up. And I love watching that magic happen. We talk a lot in my session room about head trash. We talk about being vulnerable, transparent, and honest, looking in the mirror and saying, oh, yeah, everything's fine, but is it really fine? So I bring a lot of the things that were, blockers for me to the session room. And so I love that part of it. And I am so grateful every single day for what I get to do for work. I love my job. I love my clients. I love entrepreneurs. I love helping other people. Again, took my husband, told me 10 years ago to become an implementer. Well, now it's 8 years ago or 9 years ago, but to become an implementer because he sees when I'm around other entrepreneurs and when I can help people, he sees how that just lights me up. I mean, it lights me up in like a whole nother way that other work would never be able to do.
Oh, I love that. I can tell just listening to you talk about it. It sounds like you really enjoy connecting the dots with others there and helping them see what they're not seeing. And also look at how beautiful it is, like what you've been able to compost from your own experience and turn that into like the soil that someone else can plant in. Those lessons learned and shared experiences and bumps, and the fact that you bring that to share and you're open and you start the whole thing with vulnerability.
Yeah. And one of the greatest gifts I had recently was a company that was really struggling. And just this December, the CEO said, I'm going to take a 3-month sabbatical. He couldn't even take a 2-week vacation before. He couldn't even take a 1-week vacation. He couldn't be off his phone. And so I love that I could help him and his company and his team have their greatest year commercially ever. And he feels like he can absolutely take time off. It's such a gift for me that I was able to help them realize that, and they're taking full advantage of it. But I mean, that's just like, that just, again, it just enlightens me. Like, it just brightens my day so much.
That's
I just
so
love that I
cool.
can help people in that way.
Yeah, but that's what you learned and you brought it to others in such a like that's really bringing the message through of leaning into your village and trusting and allowing yourself to have a life and be an individual and all of those things that you've picked up.
Yeah.
Excellent. So as we like come to the conclusion of this story, which is only one beautiful chapter in the tapestry of your life and career and work, what is the maybe to just put that moral of the story into words for the women and people who are going to get to read this book and listen to this episode?
Yeah. I would say it's invite others in. It's not just let them in, it's actually invite them in, and invite them in from different places of, your life. There's so many people that you can learn from, friends, family, obviously in the business world, there's so many places. I mean, I love the women's groups that I'm in. It's so powerful, but it's not just letting them in. I really do think it has to be this invitation, and the invitation can be your openness to be vulnerable. I think that's one of the things that I really realized is once I was willing to be open, that was the invitation for others to really be let into my world and my life and help me solve, some of my biggest challenges.
That's the first gift. You're giving that as a gift and they receive it, and then it's all from there. More reciprocity. That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing this story, Sue. I have gotten a lot out of it, and it's just so cool to see the ripple effect, the echoes, the circles, the concentric circles of this, and how you've brought this lesson through into so many parts of your life and now are sharing it with more entrepreneurs. What a cool gift that keeps on giving.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Love sharing my story.
Awesome. And thank you everyone for listening, and tune in for the next one.
Thank you for listening to the Wise Women podcast. You can find the book, Wisdom's Discovery, Finding Your Center at the Edge, on Amazon and barnesandnoble.com. And keep listening to the wisdom that your life is offering you.